Welcome everybody back to the PCN podcast. This is your host Cage alongside Kaz and CJ.
What up?
What's
What
up?
up?
And we're back here for season 17, episode 2. Let's just get started right away, starting about Super League. So, before everything, I'll just label the top 6 for everyone. We have Madrid, Monaco, Liverpool, and Celtic all tied on 9 points, just separated by goal differential. Swansea in 5th and Man United in 6th. Before, we get into anything, do you guys have any little thoughts about how this top 6 is looking early on?
I mean, you're just gonna leave, Milan and Portsmouth and Wolves and Atlanta out. We all got 6 points too. I mean, what's up?
Oh yeah, never mind. 5, what is that, 5 through 10? All stuck on 6?
Yeah.
Jeez. That's, oof.
I mean,
We
I
can get into
say,
that in a little bit.
uh, it is the first day, but if you
Obviously,
just
yeah.
subtract the names, it's like our table always is. There's 1, 2, 3, and then there's everybody else. But
Mhm.
obviously not surprised to see Real Madrid, depending on how much you want to take out of the preseason cup and Community Shield.
Yeah, let's go
Um,
on that a little bit. Let's talk about what happened exactly. I wasn't there. Shucks, the one time that we can chat about Madrid without Exile and he's not here. Um,
oh, this will be
he
We'd be
was
great.
there
going for
for the
20
game.
minutes.
Yeah, I know. That's the funny thing. So I'll keep it short and brief. I wasn't there for these games, but uh, so before we get into this, just put this in perspective. You're the Super League champs, right? You're the holding Super League champs. You're going into the preseason cup and Community Shield, one against your title rivals Orlando, one against a newly promoted Liverpool team. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest, stomped. 3-0 to Orlando, and then assuming that they'd shake it off, move on, because 3-0's a little embarrassing, especially on stream. 5-1 after that to Liverpool. Obviously, as a player of the club, it sucked watching. Um, but if you're, I'm not a Super League champion. I don't think any of us are, so it's just kind of weird to talk about. But assuming you're a Super League champion, right? And you come in and that happens to you, how does that affect your start to the season?
I think with the the players that Real Madrid have, for the most part, I don't know that your entire starting 11 at this point, but I think the core of your team would all be considered PCN veterans at this point, and no one would ever accuse your best players of having confidence issues. So I don't think it plays a part for Real Madrid. I think that, at least for lack of a better word, the players are like, I mean, it's preseason cup, or it's Community Shield. I'm not saying those games aren't important, but I'm telling you, like, as a player as well, like, how do you mentally deal with that? You just say, look, fuck it, man, we're moving on. At the end of the season, if Real Madrid's holding any cup, nobody's going to be talking about that night. If anything, they'll be saying, well, we were wrong. So
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of the players I know will probably handle it and just say fuck it. And I also know that that's a little bit of how Exile will put it to the team. Yeah, we got to learn
Which
from
is
it.
what he said, yeah.
Yeah.
He did
So
tell us, we'll move on from it and stuff. I agree. I mean, you're right. I just want to see, your perspective. I mean, CJ, what do you think? If you were a Super League champ and then that happened to you, obviously it is, preseason is not that important, but would that have any setbacks to you?
Personally, no, because I've always had the mentality of we're just on to the next one. You just got to keep moving, keep going along. It's gonna fall into place eventually if you're talented enough and you work at it. You're gonna get good enough eventually, and
Yeah,
it just becomes repetition.
which is exactly what happened. Madrid on the first game day scored 12 and 3, and just we slaughtered people. Not to say these teams aren't bad, it's just I don't know what was happening. It was just a super strong night. Exile was talking about it after the games. He said, I just felt like tonight was gonna be good. Uh, we won 6-2 against Torino and we were down 2-1.5. We beat Wolves 5-0 and then we snuck a 1-0 win against Swansea. Um, you know, it's what you expect, I guess you could say. Like you'd expect them to pump up and have a strong start. Uh, I feel like do you guys think there was ever any doubt like coming into these games? Do you think one of these teams could have snuck one through Madrid?
Well, I'm not sure about those teams, but I think my question coming into this is y'all did an overhaul of your back line for the most part, and I know how your back line last season, how all those players play. Um, Austin is not the same type of CB as any of those guys. Austin's very aggressive.
Yeah,
And one thing about y'all's team last season was the DMs and midfield were very aggressive, but the CBs held their positions and just intercepted the ball. And against Liverpool, nothing taken away from Liverpool. They played their game, but the way you guys defended will never stop Liverpool. Um, y'all are just getting beat through and over the top on every play, not just the plays you got scored on.
yeah,
And knowing that's how Liverpool plays, the fact that y'all got beat that much on it should be worrisome. I don't see you guys play enough to know, but if you guys go out and your offense and midfield can have the best game of their lives, but if your back line goes out and plays against Liverpool next time like that, it's going to be the same outcome. You might score some goals, but you can't stop Liverpool playing that line.
yeah. Also, not to forget, I was forgetting to mention that first game against Orlando. We were running a four back, and then I think
I was gonna say you guys had to make a tactical change.
yeah, we swapped. I mean, since then, like we wanted, I think Exile wanted to run a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, but obviously after the preseason we kind of just stuck with 3-5-2, and I mean it worked.
Stick with what you know.
You
Yeah,
did
and
switch to the 3-5-2 for the last game against Liverpool, and
yeah,
that
and
was the
then
game that you guys. Now, it's the last game of the night, and everybody's been playing a different position all night. You guys started to look like the real Real Madrid.
it sucks obviously to see that happen, and we could blame it on a bunch of different things, but at the end of the day, it's just what CJ said exactly. You move on, and you have to ball out in your next games, and that's exactly what we did. We came out, got 9 out of 9 points, and we're sitting up top for now, hopefully to keep it rolling. A team that did not live up to the expectations at the start, I will say, is Orlando. Obviously, before I go into any of this, we all understand it is the beginning of the season and this table will change. We understand that. But, you know, after beating Madrid 3-0 in the preseason, you're expecting them to come up strong. They take an L against Portsmouth and an L against Liverpool, both 1-0. You could say what you want about how those games could have gone. One team parked, they just couldn't finish, they got unlucky with shots, whatever. What do you guys see going on with Orlando though? Do you see them, using this as like a, oh my God, we have to pick our stuff up? Are they gonna fall under the pressure? What do you guys say?
I want to say that Orlando dropped a questionable game the first night of the season last season.
They did.
Uh, so I know it's awesome for us to sit here and try and pick this all apart. Real Madrid's got 9 points. Liverpool out of the gate. FJ is going to be the golden boot
Yeah,
because he just can score at will with their style. But it still is the first game night of the season. A lot of teams have big upsides. Um, Real Madrid and Benfica, both of those teams have come from bottom half of the table into the top half in recent seasons off of slow starts. Leeds did it last season. They were pretty low and questionable until they got Andressi back, and then they just roared to the top of the table. So, uh, but at the same time, you got Orlando and you got these two strikers who aren't proven strikers, and on game nights is completely different than friendlies. Game nights is when everybody kind of seriously dials in and sweat gets sweaty or what. I don't know how you kids say it, but so are there strikers up for the task? We know they're two of the most talented players in the league. The past two, Vols could have easily had Balloon Dorsey and Schmurda had it. So there's no question about these guys' talent, but are they strikers? We're gonna find out, honestly.
yeah. CJ, I mean, you see what Kaz is saying, right? Do you
Yeah.
think it'll be a matter of time before they just get it clicking? Like, do you think Money might get impatient with them? Because obviously we all know them, and I know Money. He gives trust to his players. Do you think it would be the right idea to just let this sit and let them connect Schmurda and Vols up top?
It's gonna take time, and they're gonna have to work on it, obviously. But it's gonna be on a shortened leash, in my opinion, because of how good Madrid is. If they want to ultimately win Super League, they're gonna have to get it going real quick. And personally, I think they will. They're just too talented not to. It's just a matter of fact of playing together, gelling, getting that chemistry going. But they're gonna figure it out. I have no doubt in my mind they're gonna figure it out.
I agree. I think the season they won it, not last season, the season before, was that season 15? Uh, I mentioned this before in other podcasts, man. Like, they had a rough start before the season, and then they just came out roared. They scored over 100 goals. So I know they know what they're doing. It's just we have to call it as we see it. Them taking 2 losses, especially one to Portsmouth. I mean, at this point, all the Chad Isco's been saying, talking all his shit, and then they come out and win, even if it was a scrappy win. You know, I'm not saying Portsmouth's not going to be like we all predicted them to be a top team, um, but it's just hard to drop points against those two teams, especially when you are Orlando. But we all know how this game is. I don't think we can ever truly have someone that we know will win that game. Obviously, stuff will happen. Um,
Yeah. I
but
mean, you got
moving
so many
on
players on those two teams that know each other as well. I
between Orlando and Madrid.
No,
Orlando and
no,
Portsmouth,
Portsmouth.
you
Oh
know,
yeah.
so those games will always be scrappy, in my opinion. But
That was a personal rivalry game for both of them, for both sides, honestly. And I wish I could have watched it, but it was very. I'm 100% sure it was a defensive slug match.
It was. I looked back and I was watching it on Twitch, and it looked fairly even. I think, you know, watching it back, graphics cleared man of the match. He bailed out Ports. Not that he bailed him out, but he made some big saves. Like Orlando was making chances, and then their goal was just off a cross from Isco that just fell. I think it was to Deering who scored, and then they
Oh,
always
it
had a
came from
chance right
Isco
after.
too.
Yeah, I know. Like we all know how Orlando is. Like when guys are like this chatting shit, and they win that game as they should, they'll come in and do what they do.
They'll let him know.
Um, which is weird because Isco didn't even talk after Portsmouth won. He just kept putting emojis. So it was, I don't know. I feel like Isco's saving up something that he just wants to roast everyone, and I'm sure we'll see that. Uh, but moving on. Um, a team that we touched on in the preseason podcast was NYCFC. Now, Online Ace is a veteran manager in this league. He's managed a lot of teams prior to NYC, and he's had success with some, failures with some. Do we think this is going to be another failure? We'll say because obviously the 10-0 in the preseason can't be his fault, I guess, because people left that game. But do you guys think they're going to be a relegation candidates?
um, they are relegation candidates. I don't even think it's actually Dirty Bird's team, but Online Ace is his pretty much. I guess we could all say he's running the team. He is a veteran, so I don't think he's so naive to think that they're not gonna be. The facts is the way the talent pool is laid out. Um, NYC probably has, for lack of a better word, the lower part of it. And I mean, if you look at it, the past few seasons, there have always been a clear 20th team, right? It's not like it's ever close for that last team. So it's about, as a manager, and I'm sure Online Ace with his experience will set the proper expectations. Look, guys, we're not trying to win the Super League title. We're not trying to win the Royal Cup. Let's shoot for maybe a League Cup run, but let's build for next season. Because if they do get relegated next season, now they're down in League One and they've had a whole season together. So it becomes a completely different mindset, based off of what I'm seeing from that team, it's just they have some really good talented players. I mean, that have been in the league for a long time. Killer Albino, um, Capone. It's a lot of old school Lazio players. So, you know, some of them haven't been here a while. So it'll take them some time to get going. And maybe they do get out of relegation. But I know they'll have a chip on their shoulder because we're saying this, and so maybe that's what they need.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they they can find their rhythm and get out of it and prove us wrong. CJ, you guys played NYC the last game day, and you won that game 3-1. I mean, was there anything that you saw that like shows promise, or like do you think after playing them this is going to be a team that's just going to get pounced?
To be honest, Dirty Bird got the team really late into the trialing season, if you want to call it that. But from what I saw against NYCFC is they can move the ball. Well, they can move the ball, but the issue is their defense. They're just way too. Their center backs and their outside backs. They're just constantly moving and they're not in line. I don't see any way they get out of relegation. Just gonna put that out there.
They fixed their defense, is what you're saying.
They need to.
Yeah.
Because that's their biggest issue. I mean, if you look at it this way, though, Dirty Bird got the unlucky end of the stick because he got the team late, and PCN is a more of who you know type of league, where, like, if you say the manager's not as well known, most people, like, that are talented and have been in the league for years will not want to go there. Like, I'm just being flat out honest.
Yeah, I mean, they see... Because, yeah, a lot of the top players here know who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. They don't really want to take a trial season with a team that might not do well. Yeah, that does make sense. Which is unlucky, but, you never know when players will just click out of nowhere, or, like, you'll have, like, a stud on teams like that. Like, Seabass came from that Spurs team a few seasons back, and he had, like, ridiculous numbers in his team of the season card, and that Spurs team got relegated, if I'm not mistaken. So...
They did.
Maybe one of these guys will just pop out. Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's why they're in.
They were either right above relegation or they were right below relegation.
They got relegated because that's why Spurs is in there now. They haven't gone up since.
Okay, then yeah. I remember Bass. Bass was a very good center back, and he still is a very good center back.
Yeah, so, maybe NYC will prove us wrong, or they'll have a couple studs that'll ball out and save them, but we'll see. Again, it's only been 3 games. Maybe they'll just that back and it was unlucky tonight.
I mean, to be fair, my Milan team lost 8-2 the first night of the season, last season. So, and we were not that bad. I'm sure.
You mean your Monaco team?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So, I mean, 8-2, what was it? Yeah, how bad did they lose the other night?
Yeah.
So I think those players are better than relegation? Yes. But we always talk about how broad the talent has now gotten in PCN, and we haven't seen a lot of his players for a couple seasons. So it's going to be a matter of can they catch up. If they were here, I don't know where they were playing. It's not an insult to anybody, but we just haven't seen a lot of the names around. So, it's if they could play catch up and make a run, then great. If not, I mean, it's hard to go back and say they're not going to be relegation candidates.
Yeah, time will tell at the end of the season. I mean, I'd like them to stay up. Obviously, I don't want anyone to get relegated, but as of right now, just how things are going, that's just what it seems like. Another team that might be heading for relegation, or just who knows what's going on. Leeds, as CJ put it, the Brits are retreating. Jack kind of picked up this team, and I was considering joining it. I'll be honest. I was talking to him, and I was going to be his co, but obviously I went with Madrid. I did and did not see this coming. After talking to him, I was convinced that, regardless, these guys would stay and go through whatever. And yeah, that just did not happen. They just they lost like 2 games, I think, or I don't even know if they forfeited their last one. Either they lost all 3 or lost 2 and forfeited the last one. And now all these guys are, they're gone. So, like, was this expected? Like, did you guys think this was gonna happen?
I did not. I met with Jack before the season, before giving him the team pretty much, and he talked a real good game. And he talked to Oswald and Exile before as well. And we all thought, he really wanted to come and, make some noise. I mean, he asked for a team last season, so I didn't see it coming. But I also don't know his team, and from what I'm hearing, it's not a surprise. So, kind of sucks, because there's a lot of people that wanted Super League teams before the season, but they're not going to take them now, because what we were just talking about with NYC. You know, there's no more players. So who's going to take a team knowing they're going to get their ass kicked, at least to start? You know, hey, if you are looking for a team and can field a competitive team in Super League, hit me up. There's an opening.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because they weren't a bad team. They had a bunch of good players. You know, Jack himself, a bunch of the young guys. Kayla came back. Bati was there. Lindsay was there. So like, it wasn't a bad team by any means. And you know, I feel like in any other situation, uh, if you put a different set of players in that scenario, they wouldn't fold. They'd kind of say, "Unlucky night. It was trash. We pick it up again next one." Uh, I just don't think these guys care much about this league. Uh, they're all VFL players and they're good VFL players too. That's the thing, but I don't think they care about playing PCN, especially with their delay.
Yeah. I mean, so it sounded like from the Super League manager chat, it looked like as if none of the players were taking it serious to start. Now, you know, on one hand, I want to be pissed at that. On the other hand, I know I wouldn't want to play with that delay. But then it's like they knew what they were getting into,
Yeah,
so
and
be more
they went through
mature
this
about
before
it.
with Leon, so like you know, you'd wish that they'd be more mature about it. Obviously, I don't know if they thought that it was gonna be different, or I don't really get the thought process on why they came back if they knew that inevitably they'd fold. Uh, it sucks the scenario. Hopefully, someone picks up leads. Like Kat said, if you're trying to get into Super League now, there's an opening. But you know, hopefully someone can pick them up, or someone on that team can pick them up, and they could just at least start playing again because it's a good batch of players on that team. Um, Players who have had good starts with their teams. You know, Monaco, Liverpool, and Celtic, as we said earlier on, all started with 9. Um, CJ, do you think, you know, these three teams, Monaco, Liverpool, Celtic, we can start with Monaco first. Masaroshi, obviously a guy everyone loves in the Discord. Do you think it was like a fortunate start for them, or do you think that they're going to be a strong team to keep their form? Obviously, they scored 10 and conceded 0. Uh, do you think their opponents had anything to do with it, or?
Their opponents absolutely had something to do with it, but they're a good team. But I don't see that team finishing top 6. I think personally that their first 3 games were against weaker opponents, and they took advantage of it, as rightly so. They scored 10 goals without giving up any. Credit where credit is due, but I don't see that lasting, and I don't see them staying up in second place right now. It's only one day, but like I don't see it. There's
Yeah,
no
I
way
mean
in
that's
my mind.
fair. Like, you know, NYC was one of the teams they beat. Lille and LA Galaxy. Not to be rude, but those aren't, you know, the top teams that you'd expect. But one key thing is, and this has been a repetitive theme in Super League, you got to take the points where the points are available. Um,
Absolutely.
Granted, yes, it is the start. Obviously, first 3 games against weaker teams, it is as expected. But you know, that you kind of have to do that though, where you have a 38 game season where you play the top teams and the weaker teams. Obviously, they're a lot more weaker than top teams. Maybe this season Super League's a little bit leveled, I guess, slightly. But where there's opportunity, you have to take it. I mean, and that's what they did. Uh, I agree with you though. Does that mean that these guys are gonna ball out and slap everyone? Probably not. Are they gonna be a top 6 team? Again, probably not, but you know, we'll see. The team is a bunch of good players. I've played with a bunch of them, and I know that if they care about it, that they'll do good. So yeah, we'll see how they do. Kaz, Liverpool, they had a little night to remember, beating Orlando and Milan. You can chat us up on that and how they played, and they also beat Leverkusen 6-0. They were another team that had 0 goals against. What did you see in their game? Like the way they were playing, do you see them being a top 6, top 3 team?
If they keep the form up, yes. Um, the thing about Liverpool, and it's like I said earlier with you guys playing them, is you know how they're gonna come at you. Um, so the battle all season for them is gonna be, can they overcome the defenses that are gonna adjust to their style? Um, you know, can they keep that low block solid when the teams are trying to pass around them so they can get their counter. Um, Now I'll tell you what, uh, they didn't play as much counter style as past Mamba personality teams have. Against us, they had a good bit of the possession. I think they had even more than us. They but they break very, very quickly. So they have the talent. FJ doesn't miss. I think he had a crazy juggling goal against us in like the 95th minute. Other than that, um, they would probably tell you they controlled the game. I thought we had our best game of the night against them. Um, but they've got two solid DMs, three strikers that know how to score. So we've seen what they can do to a team that doesn't show up defensively, like against Real Madrid, right? And then I saw what they can do against in the 95th minute the other night. So they can make a run. Uh, I definitely would put them in the top 6 at this point. But, like I said, though, like you said, it's a long season, so only time will tell. And the thing is can they be more than one-dimensional on offense is going to be the key to their season. Um, can they score other ways than through the quick counter through FJ and Mamba and Chronic? Can they do those things? And if they can, they'll finish in the top 6. If they can't, they'll be in the 6 through 10 range.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like their team, like when you look at it, they have a lot of depth in their team, and when people think Liverpool, obviously they got promoted, not with ease, but they got up. Coops stepped down, and then Chronic picked it up. Coops is again still playing with them. I do see this team again as early as it is. This is a top 6 team. Even if you know what they're doing, it's just a great batch of players, and nothing to take away from Death. It's just personally with Death, I feel like like you said, you know what's coming at you. Not that he's a one-dimensional striker, but you know he's just a pure finisher. Like he will score. You have a guy like FJ. I think FJ is going to be their player this season. I just think he's that good. But this is going to be a team that you can't sleep on. Obviously, with you guys, like a 95th minute goal, obviously you could say that's luck or BS, FIFA cheese, whatever. But a team that, stays on you a whole game and still will put in a product at the very end, you just got to stay on them 100%. Not saying that's not what Milan did, but just seeing how they play, you just have to stay tuned in till the end of the 90. Um, so Liverpool will be a team to look at, and not to knock off. CJ, Celtic, this is Sheik's team, and I think they made a couple late night pickups, but they beat, you guys, Leeds and Marseille. What do you see with them? Do you see them, their play was super good? Do you think they were lucky?
I mean, they played against us when we weren't fully set up the right way that we should have been. For example, we didn't have a go-to outside back because we're playing in a 4-3-3 at Atlanta, and I was put at right back for my first game ever, and they abused it. They took advantage of me not knowing the position, and they destroyed us. But yes, I think they're gonna. I feel like I'm extremely wrong about my prediction about them from my article, and I think that they're gonna prove a lot of people wrong, and they're gonna stay up high. They're a very good attacking team.
Yeah, I mean, Sheik's been known, he's an ACL guy. A lot of those guys are. They're all ACL old heads. So not much was known about them, but yeah, if you know old ACL, you know that Sheik's been able to put together good teams always that compete. I think Isco said that in the general as well. And he was a winner there, so he's come here and brought a bunch of his guys. I don't think his team's gonna be a team to sleep on. Obviously, after that last game day, them winning out, it, yes, the opponent does matter, but you still have to be good yourself to get 9 out of 9 on a game night. So I don't think they're going to be a team to sleep on or kind of be like, oh, they'll be mid-table or a top 6. I think they could have a legitimate chance to push for a top 3 spot, as controversial as that can be. They're a good team that a lot of people just aren't really considering. So, they got something to prove. They just want to come in and show that they still are good. A lot of people think these ACL guys are washed, so we'll see. I do think that they'll ball out. At least, we got a game night tonight that will prove it if they go out again and get 6 out of 6 or not. But that's all for Super League. League One, starting off with that, you look at the table. So obviously Super League had like what 4 people go undefeated, 9 out of 9. Uh, that didn't happen in League One. Obviously, Sporting's 38-0 got ruined already. But our top 6 for League Ones is Sporting at first, on goal differential. Behind them is Bayern, and then third Spurs, fourth LAFC, fifth Valencia, and sixth Atletico. Before we go into Sporting and Bayern, Kaz, I'm just gonna ask you real quick. LAFC, this is a bunch of the DQ legends. This was PCN Iceland from the Euros. This is a whole bunch of, if you guys don't know, these guys are a bunch of top 100 clubs players who came in and now are playing in the league. Sitting in fourth after your very first game day in leagues, I mean, do you think that means a lot, or do you think it doesn't mean anything at all?
For a team in their situation, I think it means a lot. Um, you know, they put in a good tournament. They almost didn't have a team. They got one real late. Uh, Late night league they came into late and they didn't put the showing, and I think they would have liked. Because I mean, from my experience with a lot of these guys, they're real confident in their abilities. It's not like they're wishy-washy when it comes to clubs. So, they're a team not to sleep on. Will these other teams that we've talked about in League One come around and turn into the teams that we've talked about them being? We don't know. If they do, I think LFC will be up there in the mix though. Definitely top 5 or 6. I think at this point, if they can keep their heads up, so to speak. If they take a few licks, that's the main difference between PCN and 11's league than top 100 clubs. They take a few ass whippings. What happens then? And every team goes through them. Every season, every team has a really bad night. So,
Yeah.
can they recover from that?
Yeah, that'll be the main thing. I mean, obviously, I'm rooting for them. League One is literally split from first to fifth. All of them have the same amount of points. Again, that'll probably change tonight. But for them, first time coming into this and doing what they did, people might see it as overreaction, but there's their first game in leagues. Obviously, they'll see leagues and they'll see like the bad nights, like you said, Kaz, and we'll see how they respond to it, and that'll really prove to everyone if they're going to be a top 6 team that can push for a promotion spot. Um, but we'll have to see when that time comes. CJ, I would like to ask you, your 2 favorite teams, Sporting and Bayern, both off the rip, tied. Obviously, like I said, 5 people are tied, but those 2 guys are up there. I mean, do you think this is going to be like the finish for League One? Do you think Bayern's going to sneak it past Sporting or what?
It's going to be very, very tight unless
play tonight?
one of the teams sells. I think they do.
Yep, they do.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't have a murky matchup for that. That sucks. That would have been awesome.
Sad.
I mean, yeah, but like Sporting and Bayern, they both have 2 very similar teams. They both have been each team has been playing with each other for a while now, as it seems. Sporting has been playing with each other. Like their main attack is all like connected through Ultimate Team and competitions like that. Bayern, their front has been playing with each other for I don't know how long, but a long time. With Eriksson, Rick, like they're all good. They know how to move the ball. They know how to score. Like last year when we were in League 2, when I was at Bayern, the first couple game days we couldn't score. And then we brought in Rick and we brought in Winnie, and then we just started scoring like at will. It was they just made everything look so easy. Rick is one of my favorite players to play with because of how much knowledge he has and how much he spreads around the team. And personally, if Bayern can keep their heads level in the back, mainly Badger, Adav, and who the hell is the other one? Well, regardless, if they can defend in League One, they're going to have no issue scoring goals. The issue is keeping them out of the net because Sporting is going to score at will. In my opinion, they're too strikers are probably going to be the 2 top goal scorers in all leagues, with Evan Davids and RVP, which is saying something. But like, I respect them for how like when they came into the Discord, they were talking so much shit in general to pro clubs players because they thought it was easy, and then they played a couple games against. I think they played against Orlando combined with Real Madrid just for fun, and I'm pretty sure they got shelled. But they kept at it. They kept playing, and they got better. And then they grew a following within the Discord, and now they're like they have a cult following, and they have cult enemies. Like, it's awesome to see that they came in. They're taking over, and I wish them the best of luck. But I don't want them to beat my Bayern. Mia sent me a Kai.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, these guys came in and were new to clubs, but I think the real thing with them is, and a lot of people in PCN play Ultimate Team, right? Like, we have that Ultimate Team chat, everyone's super active. The thing is, these guys were pure. They were good Ultimate Team players at that. Like, these guys were like finishing elite or top 200 every single time, and they went from that to transition into clubs. Obviously, everyone like you play FIFA and then transition into clubs and you get the hang of it, right? But these guys, I mean, not that they haven't touched it, but they were pure Ultimate Team players that came in and they mixed their Ultimate Team IQ with this new pro clubs IQ. And people thought it would be a hindrance. I remember Exile saying like that might be their downfall. I actually think the opposite. I think that's what makes them so good. These guys like the skills that they just put up front, like that was their main issue, right? Sporting was a good team. The attack was arguably one of the best. Probably, I'm going to say the best in League One. I'll go with that because those guys find ways to score goals. But their main issue would have been defense. Who are they going to get back there to help secure it? Because League One is a lot of, if you score first, you're probably going to win the game. There's never been a lot of super high scoring games in League One that I can recall. Maybe I might be wrong, but bringing in Mighty Cow, Khan, I think those are just two. I think they brought in 1 or 2 more guys. Those are just 2 veteran defender and goalie in the league that I do think will help them out a lot. And I do love Bayern. Bayern has Eric, Rick, a bunch of my guys that I love. I do think Sporting will finish how they started. One draw sucks, but I think that might have been a fluke. And I think the rest of the season they're gonna ball out, and I think they'll prove it tonight against Bayern. Arguably, whoever wins that game will kind of take a little step forward and keep going in League One. So we'll see after tonight who wins that game. I do think it'll be Sporting. A team that is not doing so hot, Everton. I love my man Jason. He's always promoting his team regardless of what's happening. They earned their Royal Cup spot that they're super hyped about. But Kaz, a first game showing, 3 games, 2 draws and a loss. Obviously, we were talking about it with LFC. You have to be able to bounce back from those bad games. Do you think being in League One with how teams play, do you think this will be a bad start to them? Like, do you think they'll be stuck in a rut?
If it was their first season, I would say possibly, but I want to say this is he started last season and maybe
He started last season, yes.
Did he take over the middle of the season before though?
No.
Okay. So I mean, they've had a full season. He is one of those teams that's on a lot. If he's got a social media following, he talks to his team a lot. So his team, I know that his expectations are set. So I'm gonna say no. They 2 draws and a loss. You said it's not a terrible night. You got 2 points. Some teams probably came out with 0, and it could have been
Actually,
against.
no one did.
No one came out with 0. The bottom 3 finished with 1, but continue.
All right, they did better than them, so they're gonna move on. The guys have been playing together for a long time. But we don't know. Did they expect to? Were those supposed to be hard games for them? Can you tell me that, CJ?
I don't believe they were.
Okay, so
I'm gonna look real quick.
what's gonna have to happen, and I'm sure Jay will do it is he'll go in and he'll figure out where the holes were. He probably already knows what their problem was that night, and the transfer window closes tonight, so I'm sure he did his job and went out and find the holes, find the plugs for the holes, and we move on. I thought you were gonna ask me if being in Royal Cup will be a hindrance at first, and I'm sitting here wondering, like, coming off of a night like that, um, if they do have another rough League One night and then go into Royal Cup and get pounded.
They do. I mean, obviously their three games were Valencia, Bayern, and Chelsea. Now, this night could have easily looked into a good night had that Valencia game gone different. Valencia is not really a team personally. I don't think anyone has been like chatting about. I wouldn't think Everton would have lost to them. Like you look at their two games after, they tied to Bayern and to Chelsea. So like Chelsea and Bayern are, Bayern obviously is a favorite to win it. Chelsea, truth has put together a really good team. So, those two results alone, getting draws is not bad because those are two top teams in League One. This Valencia team is not horrible either. Bidon's there, Govols, Spurs.
Valencia is currently in 5th.
Yeah, so I don't think did people think that, Everton would lose that game? I don't think so. But, Valencia is probably now a team to watch out for because of that, at least. But as we were saying, Everton has a really tough night. They have Spurs, obviously, a rival to their title, to the League One title. Sporting, the favorites for the title. Then you have Swansea, which is a top 3 predicted Super League team. So I think tonight's going to be a really big night for them. It's going to be a real test to see how much they can take and how much they can give. Personally, I don't see them coming out with it, but I could be proven wrong. They could have the night of their lives and just destroy Spurs, come away with a win against Sporting, and carry on that momentum against Swansea. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't laugh. It could happen.
I mean, they
It's
get a
possible.
win and 2 draws tonight. That's a successful night, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Being
coming out with any
being
points in
who
the
they're
World
going
Cup
up
too.
against.
I have bias against them, so.
Hey, you hitting on my man Jason, dude? He's a great guy.
Let's just say last season in League Two, halfway through, they added all of Bayern, saying, "GG's on the title race, boys. We'll take this dub." That sparked our entire team to just absolutely throttle them the next time we played them. I'm pretty sure we beat them 5 or 6-0 last time we played them.
Yeah, because that was the big game that would decide the title. Not decide it, but be a big factor.
Oh, we were not losing that game. There was no way in fucking hell we were losing that game.
Besides your bias, okay, I think, like Kat said, you come out with any type of point, like what they have, their 3 games, right? Do you come up with points tonight against the two teams of Spurs and Sporting? A draw and a win. Carry that on to Swansea and get a tie against a team like that.
That's a great night.
That would be a wonderful night for them, and I think that's maybe what they're striving for. We'll see if it happens.
They have to get a win tonight. Of all 3 games, they need to win.
My prediction is they get at least a draw. I don't see a win anywhere.
They have a talented team. I think they could snatch a win somewhere. Before we do move on to League 2, 2 teams I want to, just call out real quick. Last year's Barcelona is, had a start. They had 1 win and 2 losses. I believe Makino's still that team. And obviously, again, beginning of the season, we understand this, so please don't bring this argument up to us. We get that. But I don't believe that's the start that they'd envisioned. I mean, where they finished last season? Top 6, right? They were in the playoff promotion, and they lost somewhere there.
Last season, yeah, they were in they were pretty sure they were in the playoff. They just didn't. I think they lost first round.
Yeah, they were top 6. So
I'm bringing it up right now. But I mean,
that's slightly a shock to me. I
thought Barcelona they dominated the top team of the season, though. They were top 4. So, they had the 2. Makino and Dracula had tons of goals last season. I'm trying to see if their Cam returned because he was a big part of that.
mean, you look at the results. They lost to Sevilla 4-1. They beat Aston Villa and then lost to LAFC. Uh, which I don't know too much about Sevilla. Aston Villa I know is a good team. Jowie has built. He recruited a lot of former Super League guys and a lot of good friends over there, so I know they're a good team. Losing 4-1 to Sevilla, I'm sorry, not knowing too much about them, but then you lose to LAFC too, and like after what we talked about, that is it a little shocking to me? Yeah, I did not think that Barcelona would, if they take a L against Sevilla, that's fine, that happens, but LA is a team that I don't think they should be losing to, and they did. So it is a little worrisome to me if I was in their shoes, but obviously Makino, he's a veteran player, so I know he's obviously been through this. He knows how it goes, and I'm sure they're going to bounce back. But that's just a little result or place for them that I thought was a little weird.
Looking at who they play tonight, they play Lazio and then Arsenal, who are 19th and 20th.
Yeah.
And then they also play Liverpool in the Royal Cup. So
yeah, so I think they're expecting 2 wins and then hopefully some sort of points against Liverpool, I'd assume.
I don't know what's going on with Arsenal right now, but they seem to be capitulating.
Yeah, I mean, they had a really good preseason cup too. I mean, Classic Daniel picked up that team, and I don't think anyone knew what was going on with Arsenal. I don't think anyone really thought they'd be an issue. And then they come into the preseason cup, and they did good. They did really good. And so people were like, okay. And I think a lot of people put Arsenal as like their top 4 team.
They got my attention for sure.
Yeah, so that then their
and
start.
Now they're currently 19th with only 2 games played and 1 draw.
Which they could have won that game that they haven't put in, and that might put them in higher, obviously. But still,
that game was against Man City. That wasn't played.
Yeah, so they win that game and they shoot up to like where would that be? 9th?
They'll move
10th?
all the way up to 9th, yes, or 10th.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about them. I'm sure there's no way you have a preseason fluke. Like you can't go and win a bunch of games and then all of a sudden come into your own league and not do good. I think that they're gonna bounce back. It's just a matter of time. Once they get adjusted to it, they'll be good.
Yeah, they got a lot of talent there. I play with them in BYOT every once in a while, and they got a very talented team. They're not gonna have a problem scoring goals. And from what I've seen, their defense is pretty solid too. They've got Braden Number and goalkeeper, who low key is one of probably the better keepers of all time in PCN. You just don't ever hear about him because he doesn't shoot his mouth off in Discord. So, I mean, are they guaranteed top 6, top 4? No, not by any means, but I definitely wouldn't discount them just from one day.
Yeah, they have the capability to do so.
I did want to bring up one thing about Barcelona because I was wondering about it because I was talking about them at the end of last season having a great top front 3 with Dracula, Makino, and then Sucks at Cam. Sucks went to Watford. So I would venture to say, I mean, we all know if you can have 2 great strikers, but if you don't have the cam to get them the right balls, it's gonna be rough for your strikers. And I would rate Sucks pretty high as far as a cam outside of the Super League. He could probably be a mid-table Super League cam, in all honesty. But that's a big loss, and I would venture to say that's probably where, if they are struggling, because we really don't know because none of us watched the game. If they are struggling, that would be where they're struggling, in my opinion.
They scored 5 goals they scored 5, which outside of Sevilla, LAFC, Bayern, and Sporting are they're the only ones who scored that amount. They conceded 8. So maybe they're not scoring as much as they did before, but I think their defense might be an issue for them, and that they'll have to get patched. But people have off nights, so that could have been the case, unless their defense is really flawed, which I doubt, because I don't, those guys over there, they're a smart group of guys, and I'm sure they know, or Makino knows at least, if he's going to get a good CV or a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. So I'm sure it was just a fluke and that they'll pop out tonight, but we'll have to see.
I will say this. A lot of the newcomers to PCN Probably don't recognize some of these names, but they've got a lot of old heads from PCN. Vaccine. Uh, they picked up Rico, who spent the season at Juventus last season, who also is a player on Viva. Uh, One of the top defenders, DM in the league. I talked to him. He was looking to make the move to Cam, and I'm wondering if that's not who replaced Sucks. Um, but they've got Surge. Surge goes back to Man United, and he played on me with Atlanta. Abu Fizzy, Bearded Votto. All these players are PCN veterans and have they're not gonna just freak out and give up. These are not the type of guys
100%.
that are gonna
Yeah.
just dip after one bad night. They're gonna stick it out with Makino, and they're gonna still be a force in this league, no doubt in my mind.
For sure, but yeah, I really do think that whatever happened in that night, if they played bad, they sold whatever, that it was a fluke, and that they'll come back. That team is definitely a team to finish top six. I think so. Um,
Most of these
yeah,
guys won League One under the Atlanta United roster, way back in like season
yeah, that
9 or
must have been
10.
a while
For
ago.
all you kids.
Hmm. Yeah, so they're they're experienced, they understand how things go, so I don't think they'll get shuttered by whatever happened that night. They're gonna bounce back real easily. If you're listening, Makino, we're putting all the pressure on you, so make sure you win so you don't look like idiots. Moving on to League Two. Uh, the top table, top. I'll just list out the top seven because that's how it's listed. Again, this is another league that no one had a clean slate night. We have Watford in first with 7, PSG in second with 7, Crystal Palace in third with 7, and then Santa Clara, Napoli, and Leicester are tied on points with 6 for fourth to 6, and Leipzig is in seventh. Uh, Straight off the bat, one thing that catches my eye, obviously, I think everyone understood that Watford, would be first after the first game day, but PSG, you know, he's had his run so far in PCN. Obviously, they were in Super League for what, like 10 seasons or something crazy, and then they made the drop to League One and the drop to League Two, and they were in League Two for like what, a season or two.
Second season.
Yeah, it's their second season there. First season, a lot of people thought they'd bounce back, and they didn't. But promising start. They beat Porto 3-1, which was the old Burnley, I believe.
Yeah.
And that Burnley team was a good team. You know, I played against some of those guys, and those guys they're good players. So, beating them 3-1's big. Tying against Leipzig, which was a League One title or League Two title favorite, and then beating Brighton 5-1. Uh, Kaz, do you think this is stay high season to start proving people wrong and turn on the switch and get back up to Super League? Or is it just too premature to say that?
Uh, I wouldn't say make a run to Super League this early, but I would certainly say, based off of what I saw in the preseason, and so like Stay High, going back's notorious for just being super chill about his teams. He's willing to give guys shots even in trials that other managers won't even answer the DMs for. You know, and but he also in private like expects a lot out of the players, and so as we all know, in PCN there's a lot of egos, so that will keep certain players from getting on to his team because he won't put up with their bullshit. Um, but if you're looking at the talent pool of PCN and just kind of going off of players that you just know off the top of your head, this is the biggest collection of names I've seen on one of his teams in quite a while of guys that are really good, but you may not hear a lot about, like Meaty, Tat and Matt, both quality players. A lot of people probably have never heard of Lupex 49, but
Yeah, but that's because
this
they're all
guy's
new guys
Lupex has been in PCN
for a while.
probably before me and Exile,
Mm.
and I want to say the last season PSG was in Super League, he had scored over like 25 goals. So this guy puts the ball in the net even when PSG are struggling, and so that's scary for a League Two team. League Two, that you've got a guy that can put that many goals in on Super League, and that was not long ago. That was last year. So it's not like we didn't have Orlando around or Real Madrid or Leeds or any of those
These top
guys.
teams at least. Like he was doing this against the
Yes.
best of the best.
Yeah. He's doing that in the modern PCN. So now you got this guy down in League Two who went with him. He's not one of those guys that jumped down to Super League to League Two to go score goals. He has stayed with PSG. He's like a lifer. Okay.
Yeah.
So and buckle with the fact that Stay High's teams always play a lot, and Stay High's
Mhm.
actually moved back to left back. I think he's at, which
Yeah,
is new
he's
for
back
him.
at his defensive position.
And so, his team is gonna be organized defensively. They always have been. They just pretty much haven't had the talent to keep up. I mean, but just to give you an idea about Stay High, he produced uh, Exile, Footy, and
Solar. Solar came through the PSG academy.
Solar, and there was another one.
Booch.
Was it Booch? But there was
Booch
another
is another
CB.
one of them. Yes.
He played for Atlanta Exiles first season. Damn, I can't remember his name. He's a Euro guy. He's a Brit. But anyway, you know, so he produces good players. Good, I mean, or good players go through him. So he's got a squad down there in League Two, and got a proven goal scorer. So I mean, he's set up to win.
Yeah,
He's got every part he needs. Is how I'm putting it. And
and I feel like you guys are talking about it. Like one of the hardest things in League Two is scoring goals because a lot of teams park the bus.
Is.
yeah, and he put up 4-1 and 5-1 in two of their
Yeah,
games.
or
That's
3-1 and 5-1. Yeah.
very impressive.
I was going to ask, CJ. Obviously, you're more knowledgeable in League Two than a couple of us, but Leipzig, right? Yoshi, Abdin, Puyol. Um, these guys are not guys. A lot of people know them. Yoshi and Abdin and Puyol. All these guys, like that Monaco season that they had was crazy. They killed it and they won that league. Uh, Kaz, obviously, I'm sure you remember that. And
Mm-hmm.
then in Super League Two, am I
No,
mistaken in saying Yoshi played in Super
He
League?
didn't.
no.
He didn't? Okay, so it was League One that he just, I think 2 seasons he killed it and then just disappeared.
Um,
He
Yoshi
retired
doesn't
from
like
11s.
11s, to be honest. Even when he played on my team, he can't stand 11s. He him and he made a promise to me before that season he would help me win a title. I had talked to Puyol about a merger, and Yoshi's honestly a real cool guy. He gets toxic in Discord, and you know we had some ups and downs that season because he likes to cut up and get toxic. But like he told me at one point, right after we clinched the title, he goes, "I promise you, I stuck it out. Now I'm done with 11s." Um, but he's just one of those guys that doesn't like to grind. That's basically it. And Abdeen is the same way and has tried playing on other teams. He tried to play with Wolves for a little bit, but
Bad
I
either. I
remember
mean, he
that.
was their top goal scorer, wasn't he? Or one of them? Like he had a good season for Wolves.
good.
For like the half season he played actually, because I'm
Yeah,
sure
he did.
But
He was
so.
on the wing.
Mm,
you got people that maybe aren't as into the whole like role play side of this, and what I mean by that is like taking it that serious from a standpoint of like building
yeah,
a squad and taking that part serious. They just want to get out there and play, right?
yeah.
They
So
just want to play FIFA.
yeah, and so when you have that type of person mentality, those are the guys that are really good that don't want to be in Super League, and that's what produces a lot of this. I'm going down to League Two because you don't have to try as hard. You can show
Mm.
up, kick your feet up on your chair, and have a fun night. You know, it's not as stressful.
But to interrupt you, that stereotype has been slowly being broken because a lot of good teams are getting in League Two and it's getting a little bit more competitive.
hmm
Continue.
Oh yeah. Um, a good example is PSG. Hats off to Stay High. He with his budget could have built whatever team he wanted to this season if he really wanted to, but yet he's stuck to his old ways and of building a team. He didn't go out and because he had people offering to go down there and play for him, and he very well could have built a League Two super team, and we couldn't have stopped him. All we can do at this point is make contract fees higher, but his budget is just insane. So he couldn't have been budgeted out of it. So, I mean, I want him to win League Two because of this. He did it the right way. So,
Yeah, I mean, I hope that they can come out, maybe challenge Watford for it. Hopefully that'll be the case.
not
But
saying
back,
Watford did it the wrong way
oh
either.
no, yeah, by any means, like, not okay. Not saying that they're not a bunch of good players, but they didn't get a bunch of literally Super League proven players that have succeeded there and brought them down to League Two. Those are a bunch of good players who just are at League Two and want to shoot up.
Yep.
So it'll be a good title race between those two, hopefully, if they keep up this form. But back to Leipzig, what we were saying. CJ, did you see this coming? Obviously, like 2 draws and a win doesn't seem that bad, but we think Leipzig and those guys. I didn't think that they'd drop any points, let alone draw two. Is that just the League Two side of people parking, or them not being able to score, or what?
So, the way that the table looks is they currently have the highest goal differential because they scored 9 goals in one game. I'm assuming, and that game was against Dynamo, who's currently in last with a negative 11 goal differential.
Yeah, they conceded 14.
Yeah, that just shows that they knew how to break down their defense because maybe there was really no defense.
Yeah.
And then against other teams, they struggled because the way that League Two is you don't want to lose games because there's no reason to not play for the point. Like, people will just play for the draw. It happens all the time. Like, if you look at the table, like, there's probably more draws in League Two than there is on any other league right now.
Yeah.
Like, looking at Lyon, who's right behind them, they had 2 draws. Toronto had 2 draws. Like, the top 3 teams each had a draw. The only team that didn't have a draw that's in the top 4 is Santa Clara because they only played 2 games. Their game against Copenhagen is being played tonight, actually. So if Santa Clara actually played that game and they won, they'd be top on the table at 9 points. And I think Leipzig will figure it out because they're very, very talented, and they really should have no issue against these back lines. But if people are going to start compacting the box and they're going to get frustrated from all the blocks and all the tackles and not getting like open chances, this could be a recurring theme.
The thing about Leipzig that they have going for them that a lot of teams probably couldn't do in League Two is they've got defenders like Patty Ducks and PDP Town, just to name 2.
Well.
And to beat, if you go watch a lot of Orlando's games from last season, everybody talks about how their CBs get real high. You almost have to when you're playing against these
Wani's
bus
in
teams.
Your face.
Yeah. So they got the attackers to do it. It's not just Yoshi and Abdeen. Suspect Killa can do well. You've got Vieira.
My boy Vieira.
Yep. So all the Enter Illich, a lot of experience there. He can score. So with that defensive stability, they'll be able to throw more numbers at those defenses. And when Yoshi and Abdeen were on my team, we struggled a few times against teams that really packed it in. We adapted by playing a little bit more direct. And, that's how Tarilich likes to play. That's how Abdeen Yoshi likes to play. I know Vieira likes to play some tiki-talk, but he can also go direct. So
he'll just run if you tell him
will
to
they
run.
be able
He'll
to draw
go.
those teams out? If they can do that, they won't have any problems.
Yeah, I think they will. I think as good of a player as you can be, going down to League Two is it's still a little new game just based on how people play in that league. And maybe they weren't ready for it, they weren't used to it as to how defensive teams are, but they'll crack the code eventually, and I think they'll sort that out. Do you guys have any other final thoughts on League Two?
I mean, talk about Palace. They're the only other team that's like up there that we didn't speak about. Palace in third. Oh, also
Yeah.
Napoli, who I could not find for the life of me who the manager was, and that was driving me insane.
It is FIFA Addict HD. We found that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Palace though. I mean, this scenario was weird because I believe Buddha had Crystal Palace at the beginning of last season.
He did.
And they did good, and then he had to drop the team, and then Bowles picked it up, and not to say that they struggled, but they went up and down. It was a little slope, for them, and a lot of these guys you don't really know just because they're not a lot of proven players in PCN that he's put together, but they did good last season. For him picking up the team right off the bat, getting some of these guys in and playing, that a lot of people don't have any clue who they are. Um, they did their job. They, what place did they finish last season?
I want to say they were just outside the playoff.
Yeah, I'm having a massive brain fart because I recall them finishing a decent position. But this could. They were never really bad. They were always kind of among the pack in League Two. They just never had like that spurt. You know how a lot of top teams just have that run where they just they go. I just don't think they ever had that. And I think this might be the season for them. Obviously, turning it up against these top teams, not top teams, but they drew against Watford, which is saying something. That Watford team, compared to a lot of other teams in this league, should be a team that dominates. So if they find a way to tie them, who says they don't find a way to win against another team that's maybe slightly less quality? So, good job to Bowles at least. Proving people wrong, showing people that a lot of no names can do it. I remember T's great philosophy was no name players or something along those lines. He would get no name players and win stuff, but that didn't work out with Inter for him. But yeah, hopefully Bowles can ball out with Palace and they can finish top 3 spot, maybe even get promoted. With that being said, I do want to talk about our Royal Cup groups. I'll go through them real quick and then we can chat about what we think is Group of Death, the winners and losers of the brackets. So in Group A, we have Benfica, Everton, Swansea, and Torino. Group B, Barcelona, Leeds, Liverpool, Orlando. Group C, Atlanta, Milan, Portsmouth, Spurs. And Group D, Bayern, Celtic, Galaxy, and Madrid. Group A, we can talk about that. In my personal opinion, I think the winners of this will be... Actually, that's kind of tough. I think Swansea will top this group, but, between Torino and Benfica, it's hard. Because Torino's a good team. A really good team offensively.
We don't know what Benfica is.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against my former club, but their identity is yet to be established as to, like, what kind of team they're going to be. Maybe by the time... I mean, actually, the games are being played. I think first round is tonight.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's a tough call. CJ, who do you think will finish? Like, where do you see this group finishing? Who's where?
Swansea first, and Benfica goes through on goal difference.
So you think them? So you're not giving Everton a chance at all, huh?
No.
You think they're gonna? That's a fair assumption. I mean,
I don't think Everton gets a point in that group.
I think they can get a point. They can definitely muster something. You're acting like they're just a group of players who can't play FIFA. As good as these other teams are, you can always cheese the game. I mean, it definitely happens.
Who's the fourth
I wouldn't
team?
be shocked if it did. It was Benfica, Everton, Swansea, and Torino. And nothing against Torino's defense, but we were able to turn a 2-1 deficit at halftime into a 6-2 win. Granted, we have a bunch of good attackers, but if you can attack well, you might be able to scuff something against them, park the bus. Maybe I didn't say that, but
Well, here's the thing.
Everton's just about to just send it every time.
Everton
they could.
is going to inadvertently park the bus against teams like Swansea and Benfica. And what I mean by that is
They're gonna have no choice.
It's not going to be conscious. You see a lot of the shit talk in Discord complaining a team played defense all game. Well, it's because you played offense all game. I mean, let's be real. Like, you're throwing more numbers at them trying to score, so they're going to drop back deeper. You're pinning them in. And Everton's going to be forced to do that against Benfica and Swansea. And those are the games where the longer the game stays 0-0, the better chance Everton has, because the defenders are going to start creeping higher for both of those teams, and eventually they're going to pop one. And can they
Yeah,
finish
one
their
chance is all
chance?
it takes. Yeah.
I think they do squeeze a win or a draw out of one of those games, and they could
How
very
do you
well
see this
beat
one
Torino.
finishing?
You know, they've got something to prove. So, but it will be Benfica and Swansea going through.
That's what you're saying? All right.
Yep.
It's tough for me. I think Swansea for sure is a shoe-in. It's tough for me between Torino and Benfica. I haven't played against Benfica yet this season. Um, but Torino. I do think Torino's gonna squeak in second. That's just my thing. I think their attack is too good not to. For even when their connection is just way too good.
They've got
Group
all
B,
the. Both those teams are full of veterans too. So,
who Benfica Torino?
uh, Swansea and Benfica.
Oh yeah. I mean, Swansea's just a bunch of like whatever the best players from Bayern or not Bayern, from Orlando and Madrid. Swansea has a majority of them. Obviously, it's spread out between Benfica, Liverpool, and some of the other teams, but a lot of the great guys in PCN are on that team. So I don't see Swansea not at
Everybody
but
that couldn't get
Benfica.
a starting position on Real Madrid or Orlando are playing at Swansea.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of those guys could. They just chose to go. Here. I don't know, man. I mean,
Let the shit talk commence.
Or maybe
like
the
you look
guys
at
that don't want to get
who
as
Swansea
sweaty.
has. No, they definitely do. These guys want to win the league. Like you have Dewey and Dust up top, which
Swansea's
Dust,
going for their throats.
yeah, Dust, got let go from Orlando, which was that whole thing was
That's my
weird to
point.
me.
He
That
can't
was a
start at
mutual
Orlando.
But
agreement.
it's just if you look at the stats and what he's won, he's arguably been. If it wasn't CM9 and Vols, he would have been a shoo-in for what he's won in the last 2 seasons with Orlando. What he's done, he's been that best outside mid
Oh yeah,
across the last 2 seasons. So
absolutely.
to let a guy like that go is mind blowing to me, especially to a team like Swansea. That team picking him up, him and Dewey together now. That team, when they acquired it, became a top three team to rival Orlando and Real Madrid.
But Dust was the
Um,
best outside mid in the league, not striker.
He's still a phenomenal
he
striker.
was before he made the transition outside mid. He was a striker for Orlando, and he did ball out then. So I think he's coming back to his roots.
Him and Dewey are going to be disgusting up top. There's just no doubt about that.
Yeah, we played them. When we played Swansea, they just knew what each other was doing. It's like the same thing with Ericsson, Vicious, and with Bimps. Those three. Dewey, Dust, and Maestro. They it was like I was getting flashbacks of the same thing. Like they knew what they were doing. They created a lot of chances. Honestly, unlucky that they didn't score some against us. Uh, but like Assad is the outside mid, and a lot of people. Assad was a great DM for LAFC a couple seasons back, and he's a good outside mid making that transition. Uh, Bell at right mid, like they have a lot of guys who have been dropped from top teams. Funny enough, as you're saying, a few are playing out of position, but these guys all are really good players. And I think they could start on any team really. It's just a matter of preference. Um, but it is funny
So
how
you're right.
a lot of these guys.
They
Yeah, I know
can
that's the thing. That's the
start
funny part.
in their positions at other teams, but Loco is the only one I can think of that's playing his natural position over the past 3 seasons. Maestro playing Cam? Okay, so
Yeah,
he's playing Cam. But everybody else has kind of moved around, and you can't not take that into account. You're right. Going down that list, all good players, absolutely. But Assad, like you said, was a DM. This is outside mid. He's got to have offensive production if you're going to break down the good defenses.
I
Dust was
think
a
he did
great
too.
outside mid because he got up and down. You scored goals at outside mid. Outside of you and Dust, there's no more outside mids in the league that score goals. They get like one or two. So, you know, will they lose a game on the wing? It's possible. You're on the left outside. So when Real Madrid is playing them, you're going to be attacking on Assad, and you're not going to have to play defense because Assad's a DM. You see what I'm saying? Dust, great player, but outside mid striker are not the same thing. Dust and Dewey have a ton of Kim. They were on my regions team, and they were great together. But Dust and Dewey up top is not the same as Stone and Footy by any means. It's the same thing with Schmerda and Ivols. I'm not saying they can't do it, but they got to prove it first.
I think Dust has proven he's got a team of the season.
At,
Season 14 or 13, he grabbed the team of the season at striker with Orlando when they won. So I think I see what you're saying though. Like I see your argument, but I think from what you're saying, Dust is the only one proven out of position. A lot of these other guys aren't. But regardless, after playing them, like you have to play them to see it. But even with the guys out of position, they play like they've been in those positions. They might have a couple of flaws in a player, like make a bad decision here and there, but they play as good as Madrid or Orlando. On if you give them, because teams get on their day. You know what I mean? Like they're just feeling it. They're gonna ball out. They're gonna win. And I think on their day, they're going to be as good of a team as Madrid or Orlando. It's just a matter of consistency, which I do think that they'll be able to hold and keep up their standard. Booch and Jim made sure of it, and they made sure they got guys who can keep that consistency.
oh, absolutely. Across the board, they've got guys that play simple. Like Loco is not a shiny DM, but he's as good as anybody else in this league at DM because he wins the ball and he gets it where it needs to be. And he's always in position defensively. So, but what I'm saying is all right. So when you've got your top teams, let's talk about your Real Madrids, your Orlando's, last season's leads. We'll throw Swansea in there. All of these players throughout all these teams have 11 excellent players, right? So how do these games get turned? It's through usually a mistake from one team to the other if both teams show up to play. So
Yeah.
you Real Madrid against Swansea. The big question is who wins out of you on Assad. That's a huge disadvantage to them that he doesn't get forward the way as you do. Now, because they hear maybe they know. So maybe there's a tactical battle there where Assad pushes high to keep you off of offense. There's all these little mini games, but who's more prone to making a mistake? A guy that's played in his position the last 3 seasons, or a guy that has decided to move this season because he just wanted a new challenge?
I see your point.
Kaz, going back onto your natural position argument, I've played several games with Dust where he's just playing anywhere on the field just because he can, and he plays on pro cam too. I have to say he's probably the best player that can play anywhere in the field, and he'd just play the exact same. If he didn't have, say, a designated position as an outside mid, he would 100% be the most talented player in PCN by far, in my opinion.
Opinion, yeah.
Oh, I'm not
Thiago
saying
back. I would have
anything.
put Thiago in that mix. But...
Like Cage said, Dust won a team of the season at striker. He played striker for me in regions. He can play cam as well. You know, but he's not a one-off in this team. You got a few players that have kind of moved around this season, and you can't not factor that in. Look, they could come in and dominate and prove me wrong very easily. And I'm not even saying I'm right. I'm just saying you got to think about it.
Yeah, but I think once you see them play or you play against them, you'll know automatically, like, okay, I don't think that matters. Because that's what happened when we played them.
They're going to change your mind quick.
Yeah, 100%. Wow.
They are very, very good.
Yeah.
Especially together.
They're like a perfect group. It's weird. Like, the way Butch and Jim assembled it, it's like, a lot of those guys are friends.
They built that team, like, I don't know if you remember when Hearts started. They built that team the exact same way.
Yeah.
Hearts was built as a community at first for us just to have fun and play together and grow into a community. And, like, it still is to this day. Like, we all still talk to each other. And it's just grown over time into several different things. Like, as Booch and Jim say, like, all the time, is that the best thing to do is just spread the love. It really is. And it just works. Like, that's how they play.
Valencia, now Swansea, so...
Yeah.
I know what your argument is, Kaz, but I do think that they're gonna like obviously, it's it's your opinion, and when you play them, you might change it, but I don't think that their position changes will be a hindrance. A lot of them are good wherever they play, so I do think that they'll be top three for sure, and win this Royal Cup group. Maybe not with ease, but they'll win it. Moving on to Group B, we have Barcelona, Leeds, Liverpool, Orlando. Now, pre-Leeds folding, I would say this could be the group of death. With Leeds folding, it's
I still
Liverpool and
disagree.
Orlando.
I still disagree with that.
Where are you
Do you think
reading
it's a
this?
group of death? Reading what?
The groups.
Oh, I put it in our doc.
It's at the very bottom.
Yeah,
Am I on the wrong doc?
you might be.
Yeah.
Let me give this to you. We can edit all this out. Also, Exile, this is your cue. Thank you. um. Anyway, yeah. So, CJ, why do you disagree? I mean, no offense to Barcelona, but compared to Liverpool and Orlando, I don't see them challenging too much.
Well, here's the thing about Leeds. I honestly expected them to fold. Not this early though, because I knew that the connection was going to be an issue. Because it always is. Like, do you remember when before we made the rule that East Coast was the only way you could host games, and they would purposely delay time so they could get hosts, so they would not do it with lag, and other people would.
Yeah.
That's my reason as to why I expected them to fold. I didn't expect them to fold this early. I expected it maybe like a month in.
Yeah.
But I expected this to happen. And I didn't expect Leeds to compete in this group because Liverpool and Orlando in general are just better. That just comes down to it, in my opinion. Orlando's play style and Liverpool's play style, like, I haven't played Leeds in a while. Like, I don't know how they play fully, but I know how Liverpool play and I know how Orlando play. And they're both just better. They've proved it time and time and again.
Right now, we don't know who the Leeds team is.
Well,
So
yes.
You can just remove them. And whatever team it ends up being, more than likely will not be on the level of Liverpool and Orlando. I highly doubt even the level of Barcelona.
Yeah.
If history tells us anything about a team coming in this late.
Valencia.
So, are you guys saying that it's Liverpool, Orlando, top two shoe-in?
Yes.
Well, so they only play each other once.
Yeah.
So Barcelona squeezes a result out of Liverpool or Orlando, and then suddenly everything is nuts because of goal differential. So
true. Yeah, I mean, I forgot that it's one game now, so that all it takes is one fuck up, one mistake, and the team's in.
Yep. It's.
So are you saying that Barcelona's gonna squeeze through? Is that your prediction?
It's not impossible.
God damn it, Kaz! Just say yes or no.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, man. Let me see it. Your top three in this group.
I'm gonna go.
Well, there's only gonna be 4 teams.
I'm gonna go Orlando, Liverpool, Barcelona.
Okay, there it is. All right, yeah. Liverpool outdid Orlando in the Royal Cup last time. I think they beat them 4-0 last season. It was a smashing. I think Orlando's gonna kill them. Not kill. Let me take that back. We'll beat them.
Keep that hot take. I like it.
I do think Orlando's gonna finish first in this group, and I think Barcelona's gonna get second. I do. I think they might take a loss to Orlando, but this Barcelona team played against this Liverpool team last season, and they had battles with them. This Barcelona team was up there with those teams. Granted, they lost Sucks, which might be a big issue. It might not be, but if they fortify their defense, or if that wasn't even the case, I think that Barcelona-Liverpool game will be close. And all Barcelona needs to do is squeak out a draw, a win, and they could be through. So I think that Barcelona team will go through. Looking at these last two groups, though, I think both of these are candidates for group of death, and I don't think you can deny me on that. Group C.
Nope, I agree.
Group C: Atlanta, Milan, Portsmouth, Spurs. you have Atlanta, which a lot of people are going at John for, four back, park the bus, whatever. I don't care. That is a team that will compete in Super League. Mid-table, probably, like, yes. Top six, it could happen. Or top 10, it could happen. You got Milan, which Jig always puts out a good team, and they've revamped their team. Uh, and obviously, Kez, you know about that. Like that Milan team is not a team to mess around with. That is, I believe, will be a top six team. Portsmouth, top six Super League team, and Spurs was a what? Were they top three last
They're
season?
currently top 3 right now in League One.
Yeah, I know. Peru Clutch, he picked them up last time, and he kept them top three for nearly the whole season. And I think they lost in playoffs. Um, but
Yeah.
honestly, like they were consistent through and through. Um, so I think it can go either way. If I had to predict, I see Milan and Portsmouth going through. Those are my two guys to go through. What about you, CJ? Who do you say?
So going on to the way that you said park the bus with the 4-3-3, that is not how we're playing it at all.
Yeah,
Our
I didn't mean to say you guys are, but that's just what people were saying.
No, our two fullbacks are like, you know how Sleepy and Light can play? They're pretty much doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna take some time, obviously, for us to get used to, but last night in the BYOT, we went all the way to the semis doing it. And we played really well up until Elstar decided to play it short after John yelled at him to play it deep. That was fun. Yeah. But in my opinion, it's going to be Portsmouth and Milan that go through. Atlanta will be close.
Team.
Atlanta will be. I got to be honest. John, hate me all you want. You know how blunt I am. And I see Spurs and Atlanta tied on points. I don't think there's a team that finishes fourth.
Fair. Kaz? What do you say?
I say it's us and Portsmouth that goes through.
Do
Um,
you think it'll be close?
I think so. It'll come down to whoever wins out of us and Portsmouth, being that we already beat Portsmouth one time, and which in a game that they would probably say they dominated. So
Do you agree that they dominated?
for the most part, yeah.
Poking the bear, I like it, Cage.
We were nervous. They controlled the game. We just dug deep and defended like animals and got a goal, when we needed it, or two. So
play to win.
yeah. Well, I mean, we were nervous. Like I know I was for some reason. I think everybody first night of the season for everybody.
Yeah, first night of the season, expectations are high, so you get a little nervous.
None of us are really knowing what to expect. If you go back and listen to our party, it was insane. No one would shut up. Everybody was like, "Get it, clear," So I think it'll speak for itself, But we dug deep and got the result. So I think we'll be a different team when we play them again. But this is certainly not a team you want coming at you at their best. Let me put it that way.
All right. I mean, I agree with you guys though. Milan, Portsmouth. I could see though. I will say this. I could see Atlanta or Spurs sneaking into that second spot. I think Milan's a shoo-in for first. But I can see Atlanta or Spurs sneaking in just because one result's all it takes, especially in this. And now Group D, Bayern, Celtic, Galaxy, and Madrid.
This is my group of death.
Yeah. Nothing to take away from teams. Obviously, Bam Bam has Galaxy, and they've always been known to be a park the bus team. I think they might change that this season. I haven't played them, so I don't know. So that obviously would be difficult in a you play everyone once types of deal. Celtic, another top 16 probably in Super League, and then Bayern, favorites to win League One. Obviously, I'm biased, so I will say Madrid will go through. But even not being biased, I think a few people would assume that Madrid goes through in this deal. Second place, I think I give it to Bayern. Nothing against Sheik. I love Sheik, and like I was talking about earlier, they're a good team that will compete for the title. I just have a feeling that Bayern's going to be able to squeak it in. I don't know. Kaz, what do you say?
I'm going to go Madrid, Celtic. It's kind of like... Madrid. These are hard with everybody playing each other once. I mean,
Oh yeah, 100%.
Bayern can certainly sneak a result. I don't know much about Galaxy, but if Galaxy of the past 2 seasons is an indication, they can squeak a result. You know, all it takes is one team not showing up on the night, and that happens a lot in the World Cup. There's always a surprise win. So
CJ, who do you got here?
Bayern and Madrid. The
Bayern and Madrid.
Celtics good. I don't know why. I just trust Bayern more than I trust Celtic at the moment. Maybe it's just bias, maybe, but Bayern.
Fair. Yeah, I think, Royal Cup this season is definitely going to be good. And I think one reason primarily it's going to be good is because Orlando will care. I know we called money out earlier on a couple episodes back saying how the last few seasons Orlando hasn't been going for cups and just titles, and you know, that's the difference that makes them a dynasty. But now I think they're going to start going for these cups, um League Cup, Super Cup, Royal Cup. So it's going to be exciting to see because them, when they care, is going to be good. Obviously, last couple seasons, it's been obvious that they haven't been caring. They've been swapping positions for these cups and, having fun as a group. But with them trying hard now, it's definitely going to be a team to watch, especially with their new additions as well. So, yeah, I mean, those are our predictions for the Royal Cup. Obviously, these are opinions. They can go either way. I hope they go either way because obviously the more controversy, the more shocking results, the better for the league. I think it would be super cool to see like Everton coming out in that group, or Spurs coming out, or whoever fills in for Leeds. I think that would be super cool. Do you guys have any closing thoughts though about anything that we've talked about?
I just can't wait to see how wrong we are.
Yeah, seriously.
I'd
CJ?
love to see people prove me wrong. That's part of the reason why I made my article in the first place, was to inspire the teams that were low on the rankings or predictions for me, and trying to see like who would prove me wrong, who's gonna like show out. Because like last year, like I will give props to Everton about one thing: no one expected them up there. They
100%.
came out of nowhere. They played to win, and they won until they met Bayern, which the red wall will never let you pass.
Uh-huh. But you're right though. I mean, that's primarily what we do this for. We want to see people prove us wrong and spark something up. So, well, we're sticking with what we're saying in our opinions, but stuff happens and we get proven wrong. We get proven wrong, and good for that team, whoever does it. Um, but that has been the PCN podcast. If you guys have any feedback, positives or negatives about what you think went well, what didn't go well, please feel free to DM either of us. Uh, but yeah, this is Cage alongside Kaz and CJ, and we're signing off. Take care, guys.
See ya.
Later.